Yo guys, Haku here with my The Walking Dead Season 6, Episode 10, The Next World review. And I thought that this episode was really great, refreshing, and new. And though I'm not really a shipper at all, really. But Rashone confirmed, that was big. It was a big moment. A lot of big things I feel happened in this episode. And I think it was really awesome. So I'm going to get into breaking it down. So I thought the very beginning of the episode was really awesome. I really liked the way that they showed the time skip happening, the way they showed having everything rebuilt, and one thing that I particularly really loved is I love that we saw Judith looking like she's a bit older. That was good, so she's not like quite as much a baby anymore. She's getting almost close to the toddler stage, which I think is going to be interesting going through the show with having somebody that age as part of the group. Also, I thought that Carl and just bouncing the ball, saying it was physical therapy and all, that was really cool. And I called it, I guess the ending wasn't as huge to me because I called it the beginning of the episode from the way they were talking and doing things. Like, I just blurted out, I was like, Rashone's happening this episode. I just don't know, the way they talked and were acting and looking at each other. I felt like it was more than foreshadowing. I felt like it just beat it over your head that, okay, Rashone is actually a possibility for the show, and it's more than a possibility, it's almost inevitable. Then we got some funny parts, and Denise and Eugene were both funny. I loved both of their little conversations, especially Denise with Daryl was really funny. And Eugene speaking is just going to have more things that people are going to be quoting from the show. Hunky Dunk and Sorghum. And I've got to admit, I absolutely lost it when I lost it laughing when, because I was like, sorghum, and you saw in my predictions I was like some kind of wheat or corn, and I was just going on about like what he meant by wheat or corn or whatever. And then they go to the barn, and the barn just has sorghum in giant caps lock capital letters just on the front of the barn. I was like, sorghum, yep, there it is. Also, I skipped over it, but the Rick and Daryl, I'm going to get into it, how I thought like all of their parts were amazing. The actors had great chemistry together. The characters worked so well together. Very well written, very well acted. Just good job all around there. And when I first saw the van, I was like, why is there a van randomly in a barn filled with all these supplies and stuff? So to me, I'm not saying it was like one of those things where you thought, oh, that's too convenient. For me, it was one of those things where I thought, I was like, are they going to run into some kind of trouble? Because this van has to belong to somebody. It isn't just sitting in this barn not belonging to anybody with all this stuff in it. So yeah, I thought that was some kind of supply drop or something. And those of you that read the comics probably know more about what that might mean, but I'm not going to get into it or spoil anything, so I'm going to stay away from that. But I thought it might have been some kind of supply drop at first. That's why I was like, what are we getting this episode? Before I get into more of the Rick and Daryl stuff, I want to say that the Carl, Michonne, and Spencer stuff, and Enid too, that was all really nice. I really liked it. Especially like being able to sort of feel and get what Carl's going through, and like how Spencer had to be the one to put down Deanna. It felt so right, and it really felt fresh, and it felt like something that we haven't got since like season 3. Not just talking about somebody killing their mom, but this whole episode, the pacing and the atmosphere of it felt a lot like old Walking Dead. It felt like something we hadn't got in a while. So it was a nice little treat to have this episode like this, where it was just sort of a more mundane episode where we saw them living their everyday lives in the zombie apocalypse. So, very nice. So getting into Jesus' entrance. I'm just going to say a little bit of comic spoilers here. Not really comic spoilers. I'm what I mean by that is I'm going to say that Jesus's entrance here isn't as strong as Jesus's entrance in the comics was. I'm not going to say what he did or what he's going to do in the comics because I'm not going to spoil that. I'm just going to say that I like the comic entrance a lot more. I thought it was kind of weak to see Jesus stealing stuff and also to not see him just sort of... It was really cool how he was sort of like roguish, Robin Hoodish, running around, escaping from the ropes, latching onto their truck and all that. But just stealing seemed really out of character, and I know the show character might be a bit different, but I didn't really like the whole stealing the van thing. It didn't really seem to fit with him that much. And I also wasn't a big fan of how he didn't stand his ground and fight more, like how he didn't just take down Rick and Daryl. I guess that's not super realistic, but I felt like it would have been a better introduction to the character. This introduction was great, don't get me wrong. I'm just on the fence about how I feel compared to what it could have been. And honestly, I thought there was only one low point to this episode, because everything else I thought was amazing, and the low point was the van sinking in the lake or whatever. I think it was a lake. That was a low point because it looked off to me. Like, I don't know, I'm not like a van sinking in lakes physics expert, but it just seemed kind of odd the way it sunk and stuff, and it seemed CGI. I don't know if it was practical effects or CGI, but it looked CGI. So it looked off either way. So even if it was practical effects, it looking off is not a good thing. So yeah, that looked off to me, and that's the only real downside I have to this episode is just that one part. Other than that, breaking it down a bit more, I left out a couple parts, of course, at the end. But Carl's conversation with Michonne on the porch was amazing. That may have been my favorite part of the episode. I really thought it was really meaningful, gave me the feels for sure. And then we got the Michonne full-on happening, which was amazing. It felt natural. That is the one word I'll use for it. It didn't feel like a forced TV show romance. Didn't feel forced at all. It felt like a very natural, realistic romance. That's what I liked about that. It felt like a real romance. And with that, I would say that was really nice, and the ending of the episode in general was absolutely amazing. I absolutely loved just, hey Rick, we need to talk, and then Jesus just standing at their bed while they're naked. That was really awesome. I loved that. Very excited for next episode. But I'll get into the predictions in probably a Friday video. I'll have a discussion that I actually thought of this morning that I thought was really nice. I'll have that up on Wednesday. It's gonna be a decent discussion. I think I like the topic for it. So I'll be doing that. And yeah, so getting into that later. To this episode, I gotta say that the pacing was great. I thought that there were a lot of high points. The high points weren't as high as last episode's high points, but there were a lot of high points, and there were very, very few low points. And that's why I'm going to give it such a high score, just because the entire episode the whole way through was very solid. I didn't really find myself getting bored or anything like that at any point. Everything was fresh and eye-catching, and I think it was nice to have something new and refreshing in The Walking Dead. Especially this season, because the first half of this season was kind of it felt really... Even though it was like the course... Yeah, I guess that would make it slow-paced. Like, we had a day drag, or a couple days drug out for 8 episodes, and I just thought the first half of the season was really poorly paced, so I've really liked the pacing of these last 2 episodes. So, new, exciting, characters very well written, very, very few low points. This episode was solid all the way through, so I'm giving it 9 hunky-dunky sorghum barns out of 10. I hope you guys liked it. Leave a like if you did like the video or whatever, and comment down there what you thought of the episode, what you thought of my thoughts on the episode. Sorry, I feel like I'm just getting kind of distracted and rambly today, so sorry if some of the parts of the video were a bit like that. I don't know what's up today. I guess I'm just not feeling super well. But yeah, subscribe if you want more The Walking Dead. 3 times a week, sometimes 5 if a new comic issue comes out. And I do Tower of God, which is a Korean comic, and a Japanese comic that is One Piece, and I do each of those 3 or 4 times a week. And 2 anime reviews every week if you're interested in that at all. So subscribe for all of that and more. Yeah, follow on Twitter for updates on what's going on in case anything gets pushed back or canceled. And I thank you guys so very much for watching. I honestly hope you enjoyed the hell out of it, and I will see you all next time.